12:30, guys. We had a 12:30 appointment. Thank you guys for joining us here today. I just wanted to share a little bit about myself first. I've been an agent for 4 years. 3 of those years have been full time. I've been with Keller Williams the entire time. I'm the number one agent last year in my office for closed sales, the number two for gross commission, single agent. I'm on Keller Williams Young Professionals Leadership. So it's Keller Williams Young Professionals Network. Of course, I'm a Miami YPN Pro All Star, 20 under 40. So I'm here today. And I'm also known for making the best coffee in the office. They literally gave me an award for that. So I see there's a lot of people here today. I wish I can see everyone. Who's familiar with Matterport tours? I don't know if you guys can raise your hand or post in the chat or type a one if you guys are familiar. Mate's familiar with Matterport tours. Anybody else? Just Mate. So that Claudia is great. So it's safe to assume that the rest of you guys are not very familiar or you'd like to know more. That's why you're here. I like to use a lot of data and real estate. I'm really analytics driven. So a lot of today, what I'm going to be sharing with you is just going to be raw data. A lot of it's going to be coming from the National Association of Realtors, apartments.com, Zillow, and a few other sources, but mainly NAR is going to have the stats that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. So being in South Florida, especially Miami, a lot of our buyers are out of state and they're foreign buyers. So 3D tours are able to engage our buyers in a way that words and photos really cannot. They're going to offer location intelligence and a sense of a property that increases emotional engagement. And unlike having an open house or a traditional home visit with the 3D virtual home tour, the prospect can take their time from wherever they are, wherever they may be located, whether they're local or they're international, to really look into any feature that would make a house or apartment feel like a home to them. It also always creates an always open house, which is perfectly staged 100% of the time. I don't know about you guys, but when I work with sellers, that's sometimes the challenge, is making sure the house is neat and kept for when your showings are there, So with the virtual open house, it's always presentable. So this can help drive, greater interest in the property, better qualify our leads who come to view the house. Because when they do come, they're essentially doing a second showing because they've seen every aspect of the home already. So these are just some of the articles on the NAR website here. Most of them are just 35, 45 days old. You guys can look through them, but I mean, with the COVID-19, the pandemic we're having, I mean, it really accelerated the use of virtual tours and whatnot, whether it's Matterport or a FaceTime call. It's pretty big these days, obviously. And I'm sure some of you guys have sold houses in the past couple of weeks, sight unseen completely. So these are just some of the articles that are there. There's a lot of the portals right now, including Realtor.com, or especially Realtor.com, that have committed, to making a virtual tours more available to their end user by adding a filter. So I don't know if you guys ever go to Realtor.com. So I just put in Miami here. There's 7,400 homes for sale in the city of Miami, according to Realtor.com. Or actually, those are homes with virtual tours. If I select no virtual tours, it just jumps up about 450 to 7,800 homes. But if I select 3D tours, it gives you the option here. Only 189 homes have virtual tours. So like 2.5% of all homes listed right now on Realtor.com in Miami have virtual tours. So don't you think that your home, your listing, your seller's listing is going to stand out if clients are looking for 3D tours, when it's just, there it is, 189 out of almost 8,000 properties have a true 3D tour. So I work with a lot of sellers. That's the biggest part of my business, just being a listing agent. And amazing photos are only a part of the successful equation for the buyer and seller. And the future really is in 3D virtual tours. You may not understand the value or the importance of 3D virtual tours, and that's okay because your competitors do. And 99% of sellers believe that there is value in 3D tours. And I really believe as a realtor, if you don't understand the usefulness of a virtual tour, and you don't care to keep up with the times, you might as well take photos with your camera phone at the end of the day. And we don't want to be that listing agent that's caught in the mirrors with their phone and has these horrible photos. So photos are not enough today.
Hey Darnell, real quick, somebody has their hand raised. It's Mike Holstein. Let's try something real quick. Mike, I'm gonna allow you to talk. So if you have a question, if you raise your hand because you have a question, you have the floor for a few minutes. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike.
I guess that was a mistake. The perils of live television. So anyways, yeah, the floor is yours. Sorry to interrupt.
It's okay. It happens. I mean, I'm happy to answer all questions. I left a few minutes at the end. I mean, we'll have plenty of time. I have to throw this in there. I wouldn't be a Keller Williams agent if I didn't. I assume a lot of us have read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, and we know that listings equal more leverage, and the listing-based business is going to be more sustainable. And Matterport is just a tool to really market to the sellers and make it appear like we're doing, and we actually are doing things that's amazing and not many other realtors are doing. I mean, I can't tell you how many listings I've won just because I do Matterport tours, and none of the other agents even mention anything about virtual marketing and their listing presentation. So it makes you look more professional, and it's just one of the many tools that we use to sell homes for top dollar. When I go on my listing appointments, I personally use an iPad. Or if I don't have my iPad or if I forgot to charge it, I bring my laptop. But usually I have my iPad. And it's the same idea these days with Zoom calls. I show them the tour, the tour on on my tablet. I don't know if you guys are familiar with tours. Oops, you don't want to cooperate with me today. Let's see. So this is a sample of a Matterport tour. This is the dollhouse view. So I show them the tour, and they get to play around with it and do a live walkthrough. And in person, when they have it in their hands, the next thing you know, 10 minutes go by, and they're like immersed in the iPad playing, and they're just really, really impressed. I'm almost guaranteed to win the listing presentation if they're playing with the iPad and going through one of the tours. They're usually really blown away. Some of the biggest benefits, of course, are selling the home faster because we're able to get it in front of more eyeballs. And I don't know about you guys, but I prefer to sell my listings fast. I don't want to have my listings sit on the market. I love stats. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm very analytical. And I think the numbers tell a success story for the entire customer journey. And if anyone wants any of these stats and the sources, I'm happy to email it to you. So just drop your email or contact me and I'll send it your way. But I use some of these in my listing presentations as well. 80% of agents say that their clients would prefer to spend less time staging their home. No seller wants to constantly have their home set up ready to show. 77% of agents say after staging and the photography shoot are done, you spot something important or a big feature that you missed during the session. And it's not always feasible to call the photographer out there or videographer out there. But with a Matterport tour, you're going to capture everything. It's good or bad. I believe it's good because the client can really experience the home as it is. You're going to get 403% more leads on real estate listings with dynamic visual content. It doesn't have to be just a Matterport tour. It could be a Rico tour. It could be a video tour your videographer did, a walkthrough, even drone videos have a lot more leads coming in from them than compared to those listings that don't. Virtual tours get clicked on 40% more than listings without virtual tours. Properties featured with virtual tours get 95% more phone inquiries. If you work with buyers, I mean, you definitely want to do tours because you're going to get a lot more leads. Properties with virtual tours receive 65% more online inquiries. Virtual tours generate 49% more qualified leads, and 41% of home buyers found interactive maps and tours useful. Properties with 3D tours, this is probably my favorite one, sold 20% faster and for 9% more on average than those homes without tours. So something I use in my listing presentations is, my listings sell on average for X percentage, while the average agent sells for 94%, 95% in Miami, or whatever the stat is. It varies month to month, but it's around 94, 95%. The biggest benefit to buyers, even technological challenge buyers, can typically click a link and play with the walkthrough video tour, the 3D tour, and it's really great for buyers with odd schedules, buyers from around the world, because they can view it while everyone's sleeping. They don't have to disturb anyone. More than half of our home buyers are going to be starting their search online, looking for a home that's not generally located in their geographic or immediate area. Being in South Florida, we have a lot of people from out of state and out of the country. Stats, I can share them to you with all the sources. Let me see. Once we're done, because it's not neat and pretty, Kiva. So I'll email those to you if you put your email address in the chat. And who would agree to be a great realtor? You have to be a great marketer and a great salesperson, of course. Matterport really allows us to, improve both skill sets and make us more competitive. For agents and sellers, experience factor is really vital, especially for me, winning listings and building a business, and especially in a very competitive world of real estate, especially in South Florida, where we have the largest board of realtors, and just about everyone seems to have their license. So having something that separates you from the rest of us. How many of us are there? I don't know if Kevin's still available. Are there 38,000 members? Do you know how many members we have?
We have over 52,000 members.
52,000. Yeah, so we have the largest board. So I mean, this is something that differentiates us from our competitors. So definitely a great way to show more details of the house quickly, efficiently, effectively, and a style that's modern and enjoyable. So first-time home buyers really want to get a sense of how the home feels beyond, the static images. And it's not surprising that, what millennials are looking for are going to be high quality photos and 3D virtual home tours. Millennial buyers are over 40% of home buyers right now. They're going to be over 50%, I believe, in the next 2 years or so. So we kind of have to adjust to millennial buyers. I mean, they're doing everything online these days. And again, they're sorting out properties based off of virtual tours and video tours as well. Buyers really get to, see, I don't really work with a lot of buyers, but I know the buyers really get to see, the layout and the flow of a home with the tour versus the video. The video, videographer's taking them where they want to take them, the path that they want the buyer to go on, and they may not really show the entire property. Buyers really like to have the control and, really determine if it's a good fit before seeing it in person. From pictures, you don't always know what's where. One bedroom could be on one side of the house that they didn't really expect or doesn't flow. And they can find it out before, wasting your time as a listing agent or wasting your time as a buyer's agent going out to a property that they walk in and can immediately disqualify, versus if there was a tour, they can see it online without having, to have 3 or 4 people involved, the seller, the listing agent, the buyer's agent themselves. The times that's needed for buyers to get familiar with your listing really shouldn't be underestimated. For the buyer, there could be, a lot of contributing factors that make the window of opportunities small sometimes. And sometimes it's the urgency, it makes the buyers feel a lot of pressure, especially right now, since we don't have any inventory and a lot of properties are having multiple offer situations. So even after one time, a lot of times they go home and they're on the computer or they're on Zillow.com, looking at the listing, reading the description, going through the photos over and over again. And a lot of times it's more practical to look at a virtual tour so they can really, have a sense of the property without necessarily having to go see it again and waste any time and potentially miss out on a property that they want to put an offer in on. The buyer really only wants one thing. They just want to recapture the feeling of being the property that they really like, and they can do it 24 hours a day as long as they wish. And the best thing I love about Matterport Tours, it's time saving. Does anyone have any questions right now? Does anyone want to see a walkthrough tour of any listings and see how it works? I really set a good amount of time for questions, so I thought people would have questions on the process of the tours itself. Michael, Kevin, can we unmute Michael?
Yeah, I can do that right now. Hold on one second.
I don't know if I have the ability to do it on my side.
All right, give me 1 second. Does Michael have his hand raised?
Okay, demo. Okay, he wants to see a virtual tour. Okay, so here is a virtual tour for one of my listings. So we start in the dollhouse view. It's a little black out there because it's outside and it does bad in the sun. But this is the dollhouse view that I normally start with the sellers. It automatically plays depending on how the videographer sets it up, on which rooms he wants to capture, which direction he wants to go. But as a buyer looking at it, you can stop it at any time if you'd like. You can look around to really see, you can, I don't know what happened here. Oops. Sorry about that. So you can literally zoom into any feature that you'd like. You can look up, down. There's even a measurement tool with Matterport. So if your buyer wants to measure something, they can. So I mean, how big is this table? Sometimes the buyers want to know how big a table is so they can see if their table fits there. And it'll give you the measurements. So just the section that I clicked, it's like 4 feet 7 inches. So they can measure rooms from here too. How far is it from the wall to this? How wide is this area? It's 9 feet and 10 inches. So they don't have to come out to the property to measure things as well. Sometimes they want to come back for a second or third showing just because they want to measure and see if all of their bedroom furniture will fit or all their living room furniture will fit, and it's really, really time saving. I love it. Yes, your showings are reduced for sure, without a doubt, but you're getting way more, higher quality buyers that are coming in. Again, it's a second or third showing. They've seen it online. They've seen the photos. They've gone through the tours. They may have measured it. And this Matterport isn't necessarily to replace, videos. They're two different tools, and they're both great. So I wouldn't say a Matterport replaces a video completely. And there are other tour options out there. Rico, and there's a bunch of other Insta 360 cameras and whatnot, but none of them are as high of a quality as the Matterport. Matterport's like 134 megapixel camera versus all the other ones, and even your cell phone now you can do these tours. They're like 12 megapixels, so they're all furry and blurry and whatnot. On the MLS, how do you show the video? There's two links. There's two slots for videos on the MLS. There's one for a video, if I'm not mistaken, and then there's one for a virtual tour. And automatically, Damon, if you don't put in a virtual tour, the property panorama makes the cheesy slideshow with the funny music for you, and it's just the static images that rotate. So you can manually put it on there, and when you work with a great Matterport company, they'll automatically upload it to Realtor.com and a few other websites. Zillow.com is not the most friendly with Matterport tours because they have their own product that competes, Zillow 3D tours, and it's, if any of you have ever seen it, it's like really low quality, and you can only jump from room to room. It's only like one shot per room. It's not like a Matterport tour where you can it's like you're walking in the property. It's much more interactive, you know. Let's see, does anyone else have any other questions? I do Matterport tours for all of my listings. This is a two condo implantation. This is a 55 and older condo in Sunrise, and for the high risk individuals, you know, the elderly especially, it's been really useful for me as well to get listings because it's part of my pitch. You know, we don't have to show their home to a ton of people. You know, they can view it online first for their safety and the buyer's safety, and if they really like it, then we'll set up an arrangement to come see it in person. Of course, we'll follow all the CDC safety protocols. What are the costs for Matterport tours? They vary. There's all different types of providers. I have a great company I can recommend. Well, you're probably looking at around $200 to $300 on average for a Matterport tour. And again, the main goal is to get listings from it, Margaret. Judith, I'm happy to help you out. I'll give you all my information, and I'm happy to do a half-hour session with you if you want some additional tips to being a listing agent. It's all about the tools and script practicing. I'm sure your broker can help you with that. Does anyone have any questions on Matterport directly or virtual tours? I guess not. Kevin, do you have any questions?
We have two people with their hands raised, so let me see if I can get them on the screen right now.
Let's see. Michael asked a question.
Okay,
Yep.
so Michael, do you want to answer Michael's question in the text, and then we'll try and get Juan to hop on and ask in person?
Yeah. Sorry to ask. Can I provide a walkthrough video to save cost, or Matterport has to do the process themselves? I mean, Matterport is the type of camera and the platform that hosts the tours. I recommend them. It's not the same as doing a walkthrough video yourself, because you're showing the consumer what you want them to see at your speed, versus a Matterport tour. It's like a video game, you know, they can walk through the property like they're there. They can zoom in, they can measure, they can take their time. No one's bothering them. They don't have to rewind the video and hope that you caught something that they really wanted to see. But I think, you know, it's not a comparison. They're two different things. And I would still do both on most properties, a video tour and a Matterport tour. Madeline, how long does it take? It's all depending on the square footage. For the average property, it's like 2,000 square feet. It'll take the photographer like an hour.
Okay, so let's try and do a few live calls real quick. Okay. Let's try Juan. Juan, you are now live on the air. Do you have a question for Darnell? I guess not. All right. All right, we'll try one more. Salvador, you are now allowed to talk. Do you have a question for Darnell today?
Yes, I'm curious how the Matterport system works. Like, do you just buy the camera, set it up in a room, and it takes the 360 images and then just links them all together? Or how does the setting it up work?
You can buy a camera. It's like $3,500 plus all the other equipment you need and the subscription and whatnot. And it's probably not feasible to most agents. Like, you can buy a DSLR camera and take your own professional photography, but does that necessarily make sense to do that? I prefer to outsource to professionals and let the professionals do their job. I want to sell and market the listing. I'd rather someone else handle that task for me. But I mean, it's a simple process. It's a camera. It's controlled by an iPad, and you do the scans. But there's a lot more back end, like editing and whatnot, you need to do to make sure everything really aligns itself and things aren't blurry or foggy. And the tour, and that it's like a natural walking path. I've seen some tours myself where they're Matterport tours. It's a great camera, but the photographer does the scans too far apart. So it's like, how do I get from one step to the next? And you see these little white circles on the ground. That's where the scans were at. So you click a scan and you can go to the next spot. Some photographers that do Matterport, they may only have two in this entire room. So you need to get the visual and the perspective from one or two spots. So that's really what I look for, is a photographer that's gonna know what they're doing and make sure they get plenty of shots so the consumer can feel like they're really walking through, versus some of the other ones where you're just jumping from room to room. You don't really get to experience the property. Does that make sense?
I accidentally took him off. Hey, if you have anything else to ask Santiago, just raise your hand again. In the meantime, we have another person with their hand raised. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong, but Kaveh, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you did. You
You're
said it
online.
right. It's
Go ahead and ask
Kaveh,
your
yeah.
question.
Darnell, I like it. You're very statistic and number. I'm a number guy as well. So thank you for sharing those numbers later on. So in average, what would be a cost for this technology? You said, you know, you outsource this, which is time is money. And
Yep.
what is the investment per give or take per listing?
For a listing, it all depends on size. There are some people that do flat rate. There's some people that charge per square foot, 10 or 15 cents a foot. I use two companies depending on their schedule. But the one I use the most is, I put in the chat, do-visual.com. And for the average property, it's going to be around $250 to $300.
And then once again, Kaveh, if you have another thing to say, just raise your hand again, and we'll get you back on. There are a few more questions in the Q&A in the meantime. Somebody's asking, the Matterport video you use when you go to a listing presentation, how do you do that?
Well, I take one of these tours that's here and I put it on the tablet. You know, so you just go online. This one is actually from Megan Probst and Bethany Martinez listing in Miami in Surfside. So I totally lost track of the question. I'm so sorry. What was the
It's about the
question
listing
again?
presentation. How do you do it?
So I have this on my tablet and I hand the tablet to them and they always grab it. It might be a little different now after COVID-19. People might be a little more weary of grabbing items that you touched. But I just give them the tablet and I show them a property. I find one that's as similar to theirs as possible, whether it was one that I listed or I find a tour online and I ask for permission to use it, of course. Everyone will say yeah. And I just let them play with the technology on the tablet. It's a little bit different on the tablet than in person because you're using your finger to move around and whatnot versus your mouse on a computer. And it's similar to doing it on your cell phone where you just click and you move around. And I just let them play and everyone usually enjoys it. And if they start playing with it and we're a couple minutes in, I know the listing is mine because I know nobody else has done that. They play with it, they're super impressed, and like they're ready to sign. There's usually not many objections or any after that.
Very nice. Somebody was asking about the cost. What do you know about the cost?
Costs like $200 to $300, depending on the size of property. If it's like a 5,000 or 6,000 square foot property, it's probably gonna run $400 to $500 because it's based off of the size typically. But again, if you have a $4,000 or $5,000 square foot listing, it's probably going to be in the high hundreds to, or over $1 million or multi-million-dollar property. So I don't know what percentage of your budget you use towards marketing a particular property, but $300 or $400 is really insignificant for a property that size, especially if you're going to use that in your marketing materials to get more business and to generate more buyer leads. I would pay $500 all day to get another listing. Happily, if I can guarantee another listing.
Very cool. Well, hey, Darnell, this was a fantastic presentation. Really appreciate you coming out and repping your 20 under 40.